So if you didn't see, this is the most compelling and motivational moment or speech, then nothing's going to motivate you. After nearly 5 months of continuous walking, that is walking at least on average 50 to 60 miles per week, no shit, and regular resistance training. When you are cutting back on your carbohydrates, when you are in ketosis, particularly when you're on carnivore, you're only going to be able to do a fraction of the same workouts as when you are even moderately carb loaded. Even if your carb loads are just every 3 days, it's amazing how when you hit that bottom of the barrel, you're tapping into the fat. And when you feel like you can't go anymore, that's when you have to push it. You have to have that minimum standard. And for me, it doesn't sound like anything, especially when I'm just eating carbohydrates, even every few days, even when I think I'm really drastically cutting back, when I'm actually on carnivore, actually deep into ketosis, actually barely able to sustain any sort of exercise. Typically when I'm carbo loaded, I've walked like 15, 20 miles just like this through a day, no problem. Happy, getting all sorts of things done, right? But the results are minimal because the actual time where I'm oxidizing and getting into fat is a very marginal, narrow window. I'm able to get 15 to 20 sets of, resistance training, no problem, even 25 or more. But when I am 100% carb depleted and I'm relying on fat adaptation, even going into GNG, gluconeogenesis, for my fuel, my set minimum, the target is 9 sets. I'll try to do 3 sets on chest, 3 sets on back, 3 sets on shoulders, or 3 sets on legs, 3 sets on abs. And after those 9 sets, I am done for the day. So I try to keep that as my minimum standard. Do that at least 5 days a week is what I'm shooting for. Instead of doing a 10-mile average, which is my minimum typically, and it was for weeks prior to this, I'm lucky to hit 5 miles. I may push it and do an extra couple of miles, but that's my base. 5 to 7 miles of walking per day. It's not even consistent. It's like it's broken up a lot of the time, but I try to get a few miles in, but it's very difficult. Every little thing that I do becomes that much more difficult, but the results are amazing, especially when you finally come off of keto or carnivore. You start to cycle in those carbohydrates, healthy carbohydrates, high fiber. Don't go eating the Krispy Kremes. Don't go, trying to load up on low quality carbohydrates. But if you really want to treat yourself, have maybe 1 or 2 meals of that really favorite, like they say, cheat meal, and get yourself right back on track. In fact, get right in there and exercise during and after. Like I will walk while I eat the pizza, or while I eat the cashew cereal, or whatever it is that I'm craving. But, as it is, it's like once every 2 or 3 months at most. So I am going into my day 14 of keto carnivore, and I'll be staying on this for a minimum of like 6 weeks now. I've got the provisions. I cut back on some other areas. It turned out that I had enough whey protein to get me through. A big staple to my diet is the whey protein egg custard and the heavy cream whey protein ice cream that I make. Both of those take about 30-35 minutes and it's done. And the satiating aspect, satiety is huge, but the flavor and the fact that I had a treat. I started out in the morning with my custard. I went to bed that night, believe it or not, using Swerve brown sugar. And so I use this, right? Brown sugar, amazing tool there. I'll use that in my ice cream. I'll use that in the custard. And then the allulose baking blend. And this has erythritol and monk fruit. And these products are just amazing. And then I'll use ample amounts of cinnamon. And yeah, I use the what you could call the off-brand, right? Everybody's eating it. Everybody has to eat it. Everybody's broke these days. So you get by with what you can. It works for me. It works for me on carnivore. You know, we've got the beef, chicken, Walmart eggs, bacon in there, Walmart heavy cream, Walmart cheese. It's the Great Value brand, and it keeps me going. I don't know what to tell you. It's working for me.